This is Vergil's Aeneid, translated into English by Robert Fitzgerald. Book 4. The Queen, for her part, all that evening ached with longing that her heart's blood fed a wound or inward fire eating her away. The manhood of the man, his pride of birth, came home to her time and again. His looks, his words remained with her to haunt her mind, and desire for him gave her no rest. When dawn swept earth with Phoebus's torch and burned away night gloom and damp, this queen, far gone and ill, confided to the sister of her heart, "My sister Anna, quandaries and dreams have come to frighten me. Such dreams! Think what a stranger yesterday found lodging in our house. How princely, how courageous, what a soldier! I can believe him in the line of gods, and this is no delusion. Telltale fear betrays inferior souls. What scenes of war, fought to the bitter end, he pictured for us! What buffetings awaited him at sea! Had I not set my face against remarriage after my first love died and failed me, left me barren and bereaved, and sick to death at the mere thought of torch and bridal bed, I could perhaps give way in this one case to frailty. I shall say it, since that time Zacchaeus, my poor husband, met his fate, and blood my brother shed stained our hearth gods, this man alone has wrought upon me so, and moved my soul to yield. I recognize the signs of the old flame, of old desire. But, O chaste life, before I break your laws, I pray that earth may open, gape for me down to its depth, or the Omnipotent with one stroke blast me to the shades, pale shades of Erebus and the deep world of night. That man who took me to himself in youth has taken all my love. May that man keep it, hold it forever with him in the tomb." At this she wept, and wet her breast with tears. But Anna answered, "Dearer to your sister than daylight is, will you wear out your life, young as you are, in solitary mourning, never to know sweet children, or the crown of joy that Venus brings? Do you believe this matters to the dust? To ghosts in tombs? Granted no suitors up to now have moved you, neither in Libya nor before in Tyre. Iarbas you rejected, and the others, chieftains bred by the land of Africa, their triumphs have enriched. Will you contend even against a welcome love? Have you considered in whose lands you settled here? On one frontier, the Gaetulians, their cities, people invincible in war, with wild Numidian horsemen, and the offshore banks, the Syrtes; on the other, desert sands, bone dry, where fierce Barcaean nomads range. Or need I speak of future wars brought on from Tyre, and the menace of your brother? Surely, by dispensation of the gods, and backed by Juno's will, the ships from Ilium held their course this way on the wind. Sister, what a great city you'll see rising here, and what a kingdom from this royal match, with Trojan soldiers as companions in arms. By what exploits will Punic glory grow? Only ask the indulgence of the gods, win them with offerings, give your guests ease, and contrive reasons for delay, while winter gales rage, drenched Orion storms at sea, and their ships, damaged still, face iron skies. This counsel fanned the flame, already kindled, giving her hesitant sister hope, and set her free of scruple. Visiting the shrines, they begged for grace at every altar first, then put choice rams and ewes to ritual death for Ceres, giver of laws, Father Laius, Phoebus, and for Juno, most of all, who has the bonds of marriage in her keeping. Dido herself, splendidly beautiful, holding a shallow cup, tips out the wine on a white shining heifer between the horns, or gravely, in the shadow of the gods, approaches opulent altars. Through the day she brings new gifts, and when the breasts are opened, pours over organs living still for signs. Alas, what darkened minds have soothsayers? What good are shrines and vows to maddened lovers? The inward fire eats the soft marrow away, and the internal wound bleeds on in silence. Unlucky Dido, burning in her madness, roamed through all the city like a doe hit by an arrow shot from far away by a shepherd hunting in the Cretan woods. Hit by surprise, nor could the hunter see his flying steel had fixed itself in her. And though she runs for life through copse and glade, the fatal shaft clings to her side. Now Dido took Aeneas with her among her buildings, showed her Sidonian wealth, her walls prepared, and tried to speak, but in mid-speech grew still. When the day waned, she wanted to repeat the banquet as before, to hear once more, in her wild need, the throes of Ilium, and once more hung on the narrator's words. Afterward, when all the guests were gone, and the dim moon in turn had quenched her light, and setting stars weighed weariness to sleep, alone she mourned in the great empty hall, and pressed her body on the couch he left. She heard him still, though absent, heard and saw him, or she would hold Ascanius in her lap, enthralled by him, the image of his father, as though by this ruse to appease a love beyond all telling. Towers, half built, rose no farther. Men no longer trained in arms, or toiled to make harbors and battlements impregnable. Projects were broken off, laid over, and the menacing huge walls, with cranes unmoving, stood against the sky. As soon as Jove's dear consort saw the lady prey to such illness, and her reputation standing no longer in the way of passion, Saturn's daughter said to Venus, "Wondrous! covered yourself with glory, have you not? You and your boy, and won such prizes too. Divine power is something to remember if by collusion of two gods one mortal woman is brought low. I am not blind. Your fear of our new walls has not escaped me. Fear and mistrust of Carthage at her height. But how far will it go? What do you hope for, being so contentious? Why do we not arrange eternal peace and formal marriage? You have your heart's desire, Dido in love, Dido consumed with passion to her core. Why not, then, rule this people side by side with equal authority? And let the queen wait on her Phrygian lord. Let her consign into your hand her Tyrians as a dowry. Now Venus knew this talk was all pretense, all to divert the future power from Italy to Libya. And she answered, who would be so mad, so foolish, as to shun that prospect, or prefer war with you? That is, provided fortune is on the side of your proposal. The fates here are perplexing. Would one city satisfy Jupiter's will for Tyrians and Trojan exiles? Does he approve a union and a mingling of these races? You are his consort. You have every right to sound him out. Go on, and I'll come too. But regal Juno pointedly replied, that task will rest with me. Just now, as to the need of the moment and the way to meet it, listen, and I'll explain in a few words. Aeneas and Dido, in her misery, plan hunting in the forest when the Titan sun comes up with rays to light the world, while beaters in excitement ring the glens. My gift will be a black rain cloud, and hail, a downpour. I'll shake heaven with thunder. The company will scatter, lost in gloom, as Dido and the Trojan captain come to one same cavern. I shall be on hand, and if I can be certain you are willing, there I shall marry them and call her his. A wedding this will be. Then Cytherea, not disinclined, nodded to Juno's plea, and smiled at the stratagem now given away. Dawn came up meanwhile from the ocean stream, and in the early sunshine from the gates picked huntsmen issued, wide-meshed nets and snares, broad spearheads for big game, Massilian horsemen trooping with hounds in packs, keen on the scent. But Dido lingered in her hall as Punic nobles waited, and her mettlesome hunter stood nearby, cavorting in gold and scarlet, champing his foam-flecked bridle. At long last the queen appeared, with courtiers in a crowd, a short Sidonian cloak edged in embroidery caught about her, at her back a quiver sheathed in gold, her hair tied up in gold, and a brooch of gold pinning her scarlet dress. Phrygians came in her company as well, and Iülus joyous at the scene. Resplendent above the rest, Aeneas walked to meet her, to join his retinue with hers. He seemed Think of the Lord Apollo in the spring, when he leaves wintering in Lycia by Xanthus' torrent for his mother's isle of Delos to renew the festival. Around his altars Cretans, Driopes, and painted Agathirsons raise a shout. But the god walks the Cynthian ridge alone, and smooths his hair, binds it in a fronded laurel, braids it in gold, and shafts ring on his shoulders. So elated and swift Aeneas walked, with sunlit grace upon him. Soon the hunters, riding in company to high, pathless hills, saw mountain goats shoot down from a rocky peak and scamper on the ridges. Toward the plain, deer left the slopes, herding in clouds of dust in flight across the open lands. Alone, the boy Ascanius, delightedly riding his eager horse amid the lowland vales, outran both goats and deer. Could he only meet amid the harmless game some foaming boar, or a tawny lion down from the mountain side? Meanwhile, in heaven began a rolling thunder, and soon the storm broke, pouring rain and hail. Then Tyrians and Trojans, in alarm, with Venus's Dardan grandson, ran for cover here and there in the wilderness, as freshets coursed from the high hills. Now to the self-same cave came Dido and the captain of the Trojans. Primal Earth herself and nuptial Juno opened the ritual, torches of lightning blazed. High heaven became witness to the marriage, and nymphs cried out wild hymns from a mountain top. That day was the first cause of death and first of sorrow. Dido had no further qualms as to impressions given and set abroad. She thought no longer of a secret love, but called it marriage. Thus, under that name, she hid her fault. Now in no time at all, through all the African cities rumor goes, nimble as quicksilver among evils. Rumor thrives on motion, stronger for the running, lowly at first through fear, then rearing high, she treads the land and hides her head in cloud. As people fable it, the earth, her mother, furious against the gods, bore a late sister to the giants Coeus and Enceladus, giving her speed on foot and on the wing. Monstrous, deformed, titanic, pinioned, with an eye beneath for every body feather, and, strange to say, as many tongues and buzzing mouths as eyes, as many pricked up ears. By night she flies between the earth and heaven, shrieking through darkness, and she never turns her eyelids down to sleep. By day she broods on the alert, on rooftops or on towers, bringing great cities fear, harping on lies, and slander even-handedly with truth. In those days rumor took an evil joy at filling countrysides with whispers, gossip of what was done and never done. How this Aeneas landed, Trojan born, how Dido in her beauty graced his company, then how they revelled all the winter long, unmindful of the realm, prisoners of lust. These tales the scabrous goddess put about on men's lips everywhere. Her twisting course took her to King Iarbas, whom she set ablaze with anger piled on top of anger. Son of Jupiter, Hammon by a nymph, a ravished Garamantian, this prince had built the god 100 giant shrines, 100 altars, each with holy fires, alight by night and day, sentries on watch, the ground enriched by victims' blood, the doors festooned with flowering wreaths. Before his altars, King Iarbas, crazed by the raw story, stood, they say, amid the presences, with supplicating hands pouring out prayer. O powerful Jove, to whom the feasting Moors at ease on colored couches tip their wine, do you see this? Are we then fools to fear you, throwing down your bolts? Those dazzling fires of lightning, are they aimless in the clouds, and rumbling thunder meaningless? This woman, who turned up in our country and laid down a tiny city at a price, to whom I gave a beach to plow, and on my terms, after refusing to marry me, has taken Aeneas to be master in her realm? And now Sir Paris, with his men, half men, his chin and perfumed hair tied up in a Maeonian bonnet, takes possession. As for ourselves, here we are bringing gifts into these shrines, supposedly your shrines, hugging that empty fable. Pleas like this from the man clinging to his altars reached the ears of the Almighty. Now he turned his eyes upon the queen's town and the lovers, careless of their good name, then spoke to Mercury, assigning him a mission. Son, bestir yourself. Call up the zephyrs, take to your wings and glide. Approach the Dardan captain where he tarries, wrapped in Tyrian Carthage, losing sight of future towns the fates ordain. Correct him, carry my speech to him on the running winds. No son like this did his enchanting mother promise to us, nor such did she deliver twice from peril at the hands of Greeks. He was to be the ruler of Italy, potential empire, armorer of war, to father men from Teucer's noble blood, and bring the whole world under law's dominion. If glories to be won by deeds like these cannot rouse him, if he will not strive for his own honor, does he begrudge his son, Ascanius, the high strongholds of Rome? What has he in mind? What hope to make him stay amid a hostile race, and lose from view Ausonian progeny, Lavinian lands? The man should sail. That is the whole point. Let this be what you tell him. As from me. He finished, and fell silent. Mercury made ready to obey the great command of his great father, and he first tied on the golden sandals, winged, that high in air transport him over seas or over land abreast of gale winds. Then he took the wand with which he summons pale souls out of Orcus, and ushers others to the undergloom, lulls men to slumber, or awakens them, and opens dead men's eyes. This wand in hand, he can drive winds before him, swimming down along the storm cloud. Now, aloft, he saw the craggy flanks and crown of patient Atlas, giant Atlas balancing the sky upon his peak, his pine-forested head in vapor cowled, beaten by wind and rain. Snow lay upon his shoulders, rills cascaded down his ancient chin, and beard a-bristle, caked with ice. Here Mercury of Cyrene hovered first on even wings, then down he plummeted to sea level and flew on, like a low-flying gull that skims the shallows and rocky coasts where fish ply close inshore. So, like a gull between the earth and sky, the progeny of Selene, on the wing from his maternal grandsire, split the winds to the sandbars of Libya. Alighting tiptoe on the first hutments, there he found Aeneas, laying foundations for new towers and homes. He noted well the sword hilts the man wore, adorned with yellow jasper, and the cloak aglow with Tyrian dye upon his shoulders, gifts of the wealthy queen, who had inwoven gold thread in the fabric. Mercury took him to task at once. Is it for you to lay the stones for Carthage's high walls, tame husband that you are, and build their city, oblivious of your own world, your own kingdom? From bright Olympus, he that rules the gods and turns the earth and heaven by his power, he and no other sent me to you, told me to bring this message on the running winds. What have you in mind? What hope, wasting your days in Libya, if future history's glories do not affect you, if you will not strive for your own honor? Think of Ascanius, think of the expectations of your heir, Iulus, to whom the Italian realm, the land of Rome, are due. And Mercury, as he spoke, departed from the visual field of mortals to a great distance, ebbed in subtle air. Amazed and shocked to the bottom of his soul by what his eyes had seen, Aeneas felt his hackles rise, his voice choke in his throat, as the sharp admonition and command from heaven had shaken him awake. He now burned only to be gone, to leave that land of the sweet life behind. What can he do? How tell the impassioned queen, and hope to win her over? What opening shall he choose? This way and that he let his mind dart, testing alternatives, running through each one. And as he pondered, this seemed the better tactic. He called in Menestheus, Sergestus, and stalwart Serestus, telling them, get the fleet ready for sea, but quietly, and collect the men from on shore. Lay in ship stores and gear. As to the cause for a change of plan, they were to keep it secret, seeing the excellent Dido had no notion, no warning, that such love could be cut short. He would himself look for the right occasion, the easiest time to speak, the way to do it. The Trojans, to a man, gladly obeyed. The queen, for her part, felt some plot afoot quite soon, for who deceives a woman in love? She caught wind of a change, being in fear of what had seemed her safety. Evil rumor, shameless as before, brought word to her in her distracted state of ships being rigged in trim for sailing. Furious at her wits' end, she traversed the whole city, all aflame with rage like a bacchante, driven wild by emblems shaken when the mountain revels of the odd year possess her, when the cry of Bacchus rises and Kithaeron calls, all through the shouting night. Thus it turned out she was the first to speak and charge Aeneas. You even hope to keep me in the dark as to this outrage? Did you, two-faced man, and slip away in silence? Can our love not hold you? Can the pledge we gave not hold you? Can Dido not, now sure to die in pain? Even in winter weather must you toil with ships, and fret to launch against high winds for the open sea? Oh, heartless! Tell me now, if you were not in search of alien lands and new strange homes, if ancient Troy remained, would ships put out for Troy on these big seas? Do you go to get away from me? I beg you, by these tears, by your own right hand, since I have left my wretched self nothing but that, yes, by the marriage that we entered on, if ever I did well, and you were grateful, or found some sweetness in a gift from me, have pity now on a declining house. Put this plan by, I beg you, if a prayer is not yet out of place. Because of you, Libyans and nomad kings detest me. My own Tyrians are hostile. Because of you, I lost my integrity, and that admired name, by which alone I made my way once toward the stars. To whom do you abandon me, a dying woman, guests that you are, the only name now left from that of husband? Why do I live on? Shall I, until my brother Pygmalion comes to pull my walls down? Or the Gaetulian Iarbas leads me captive? If, at least, there were a child by you for me to care for, a little one to play in my courtyard, and give me back Aeneas in spite of all, I should not feel so utterly defeated, utterly bereft. She ended there. The man, by Jove's command, held fast his eyes and fought down the emotion in his heart. At length he answered, As for myself, be sure, I never shall deny all you can say, your majesty, of what you meant to me. Never will the memory of Alyssa stale for me, while I can still remember my own life, and the spirit rules my body. As to the event, a few words. Do not think I meant to be deceitful and slip away. I never held the torches of a bridegroom, never entered upon the pact of marriage. If fate permitted me to spend my days by my own lights and make the best of things according to my wishes, first of all, I should look after Troy and the loved relics left me of my people. Priam's great hall should stand again. I should have restored the tower of Pergamum for Trojans in defeat. But now it is the rich Italian land Apollo tells me I must make for, Italy, named by his oracles. There is my love. There is my country. If, as a Phoenician, you are so given to the charms of Carthage, Libyan city that it is, then tell me, why begrudge the Teucrians new lands for homesteads in Ausonia? Are we not entitled to look for realms abroad? Night never veils the earth in damp and darkness, fiery stars never ascend the east. But in my dreams my father's troubled ghost admonishes and frightens me. Then too, each night, thoughts come of young Ascanius, my dear boy wronged, defrauded of his kingdom, Hesperian lands of destiny. And now, the god's interpreter, sent by Jove himself, I swear it by your head and mine, has brought commands down through the racing winds. I say, with my own eyes in full daylight, I saw him entering the building with my very ears. I drank his message in. So please, no more of these appeals that set us both afire. I sail for Italy not of my own free will. During all this, she had been watching him with face averted, looking him up and down in silence. And she burst out raging now. No goddess was your mother! Dardanus was not the founder of your family, liar and cheat! Some rough Caucasian cliff begot you on flint. Hyrcanian tigresses tendered their teats to you. Why should I palter? Why still hold back for more indignity? Sigh, did he, while I wept? Or look at me, or yield a tear, or pity her who loved him? What shall I say first? With so much to say, the time is past when either Supreme Juno or the Saturnian Father viewed these things with justice. Faith can never be secure. I took the man in, thrown up on this coast in dire need, and in my madness then contrived a place for him in my domain, rescued his lost fleet, saved his shipmates' lives. Oh, I am swept away by burning furies. Now the prophet Apollo, now his oracles, now the god's interpreter, if you please, sent down by Jove himself, brings through the air his formidable commands. Oh, what fit employment for heaven's high powers! What anxieties to plague serene immortals! Oh, I shall not detain you or dispute your story. Go! Go after Italy on the sailing winds. Look for your kingdom, cross the deep sea swell. If divine justice counts for anything, I hope and pray that on some grinding reef, midway at sea, you'll drink your punishment and call on Dido's name. From far away I shall come after you with my black fires, and when cold death has parted body from soul, I shall be everywhere, a shade to haunt you. You will pay for this. Unconscionable! I shall hear, the news will reach me, even among the lowest of the dead. At this, abruptly, she broke off and ran, in sickness from his sight and the light of day, leaving him at a loss, alarmed and mute with all he meant to say. The maids in waiting caught her as she swooned and carried her to bed in her marble chamber. Duty bound, Aeneas, though he struggled with desire to calm and comfort her in all her pain, to speak to her and turn her mind from grief, and though he sighed his heart out, shaken still with love of her, yet took the course heaven gave him, and went back to the fleet. Then with a will the Teucrians fell to work and launched the ships along the whole shore. Slick with tar each hull took to the water, eager to get away. The sailors brought oar boughs out of the woods, with leaves still on, and oaken logs unhewn. Now you could see them issuing from the town to the water's edge in streams, as when, aware of winter, ants will pillage a mound of spelt to store it in their granary. Over fields the black battalion moves, and through the grass, on a narrow trail, they carry off the spoil. Some put their shoulders to the enormous weight of a trundled grain, while some pull stragglers in and castigate delay. Their to and fro of labor makes the whole track come alive. At that sight, what were your emotions, Dido? Sighing, how deeply, looking out and down from your high tower on the seething shore, where all the harbor filled before your eyes with bustle and shouts. Unconscionable love, to what extremes will you not drive our hearts? She now felt driven to weep again, again to move him if she could by supplication, humbling her pride before her love, to leave nothing untried, not to die needlessly. Anna, you see the arc of waterfront all in commotion? They come crowding in from everywhere. Spread canvas calls for wind, the happy crews have garland in the sterns. If I could brace myself for this great sorrow, sister, I can endure it too. One favor, even so, you may perform for me. Since that deserter chose you for his friend and trusted you, even with private thoughts, since you alone know when he may be reached, go, intercede with our proud enemy. Remind him that I took no oath at Aulis with Danaans to destroy the Trojan race. I sent no ship to Pergamum. Never did I profane his father Anchises' dust and shame. Why will he not allow my prayers to fall on his unpitying ears? Where is he racing? Let him bestow one last gift on his mistress, this to await fair winds, an easier flight. Now I no longer plead the bond he broke of our old marriage, nor do I ask that he should live without his dear love, Latium, or yield his kingdom. Time is all I beg, mere time, a respite and a breathing space for madness to subside in, while my fortune teaches me how to take defeat and grieve. Pity your sister. This is the end, this favor, to be repaid with interest. When I die, she pleaded in such terms, and such, in tears, her sorrowing sister brought him time and again. But no tears moved him, no one's voice would he attend to tractably. The fates opposed it. God's will blocked the man's once kindly ears. And just as when the north wind from the Alps this way and that contend among themselves to tear away an oak tree hale with age, the wind and tree cry, and the buffeted trunk showers high foliage to earth, but holds on bedrock, for the roots go down as far into the underworld as cresting boughs go up in heaven's air. Just so this captain, buffeted by a gale of pleas this way and that way, dinned all the day long, felt their moving power in his great heart, and yet his will stood fast. Tears fell in vain. On Dido, in her desolation now, terror grew at her fate. She prayed for death, being heartsick at the mere sight of heaven, that she more surely would perform the act and leave the daylight. Now she saw before her a thing one shudders to recall. On altars, fuming with incense, where she placed her gifts, the holy water blackened. The spilt wine turned into blood and mire. Of this she spoke to no one, not to her sister even. Then, too, within the palace was a marble shrine devoted to her one-time lord, a place she held in wondrous honor, all festooned with snowy fleeces and green festive boughs. From this she now thought voices could be heard, and words could be made out, her husband's words, calling her when midnight hushed the earth. And lonely on the rooftops the night owl seemed to lament in melancholy notes, prolonged to a doleful cry. And then besides, the riddling words of seers in ancient days, foreboding sayings, made her thrill with fear. In nightmare fevered she was hunted down by pitiless Aeneas, and she seemed deserted always, unaccompanied always, on a long journey, looking for her Tyrians in desolate landscapes. As Pentheus, gone mad, he sees the oncoming Eumenides, and sees a double sun and double Thebes appear, or as when, hounded on the stage, Orestes runs from a mother armed with burning brands, with serpents hellish black, and in the doorway squat the avenging ones. So broken in mind by suffering, Dido caught her fatal madness, and resolved to die. She pondered time and means, then visiting her mournful sister, covered up her plan with a calm look, a clear and hopeful brow. Sister, be glad for me. I have found a way to bring him back, or free me of desire. Near to the ocean boundary, near sundown, the Ethiops' farthest territory lies, where giant Atlas turns the sphere of heaven, studded with burning stars. From there, a priestess of Massilian stock has come. She had been pointed out to me, custodian of that shrine, named for the daughters of the West, Hesperides. It is she who fed the dragon, guarding well the holy boughs with honey dripping slow and drowsy poppy. Chanting her spells, she undertakes to free what hearts she wills, but to inflict on others duress of sad desires, to arrest the flow of rivers, make the stars move backward, call up the spirits of deep night. You'll see earth shift and rumble underfoot, and ash trees walk down mountainsides. Dearest, I swear, before the gods and by your own sweet self, it is against my will that I resort for weaponry to magic powers. In secret, build up a pyre in the inner court under the open sky, and place upon it the arms that faithless man left in my chamber, all his clothing, and the marriage bed on which I came to grief. Solace for me to annihilate all vestige of the man, vile as he is. My priestess shows me this. While she was speaking, cheek and brow grew pale. But Anna could not think her sister cloaked a suicide in these unheard of rites. She failed to see how great her madness was, and feared no consequence more grave than at Zacchaeus' death. So, as commanded, she made the preparations. For her part, the queen, seeing the pyre in her inmost court, erected huge with pitch pine and sawn ilex, hung all the place under the sky with wreaths, and crowned it with funereal cypress boughs. On the pyre's top she put a sword he left with clothing, and an effigy on a couch, her mind fixed now ahead on what would come. Around the pyre stood altars, and the priestess, hair unbound, called in a voice of thunder upon 300 gods, on Erebus, on Chaos, on triple Hecate, three-faced Diana. Then she sprinkled drops purportedly from the fountain of Avernus. Rare herbs were brought out, reaped at the new moon by scythes of bronze, and juicy with a milk of dusky venom. Then the rare love charm or caul torn from the brow of a birthing foal, and snatched away before the mother found it. Dido herself, with consecrated grain in her pure hands, as she went near the altars, freed one foot from sandal straps, let fall her dress ungirdled, and, now sworn to death, called on the gods and stars that knew her fate. She prayed then to whatever power may care in comprehending justice for the grief of lovers bound unequally by love. The night had come, and weary in every land, men's bodies took the boon of peaceful sleep. The woods and wild seas had quieted at that hour when the stars are in mid-course and every field is still. Cattle and birds with vivid wings that haunt the limpid lakes or nest in thickets in the country places, all were asleep under the silent night. Not though the agonized Phoenician queen. She never slackened into sleep, and never allowed the tranquil night to rest upon her eyelids or within her heart. Her pain redoubled. Love came on again, devouring her, and on her bed she tossed in a great surge of anger. So awake she pressed these questions, musing to herself, "Look now, what can I do? Turn once again to the old suitors, only to be laughed at, begging a marriage with Numidians, whom I disdained so often? Well, then what? Trail the Ilian ships and follow like a slave commands of Trojans? Seeing them so agreeable in view of past assistance and relief, so thoughtful their unshaken gratitude, suppose I wished it, who permits? or takes aboard their proud ships one they so dislike. Oh, poor lost soul, do you not yet grasp or feel the treachery of the line of Laomedon? What then? Am I to go alone, companion of the exultant sailors in their flight? Or shall I set out in their wake with Tyrians, with all my crew close at my side, and send the men I barely tore away from Tyre to sea again, making them hoist their sails to give more sea winds? No, die as you deserve. Give pain quietus with a steel blade. Sister, you are the only one who gave to my tears in the beginning, burdened a mad queen with sufferings, and thrust me on my enemy. It was not given me to lead my life without new passion, innocently, the way wild creatures live, and not to touch these depths. I vow I took to the ashes of the vow I took to the ashes of Sychaeus was not kept. So she broke out afresh in bitter mourning. On his high stern deck, Aeneas, now quite certain of departure, everything ready, took the boon of sleep. In dream the figure of the god returned, with looks reproachful as before. He seemed again to warn him, being like Mercury in every way, in voice and golden hair, and in the bloom of youth. Son of the goddess, sleep away this crisis, can you still? Do you not see the dangers growing round you, madman, from now on? Can you not hear the offshore west wind blow? The woman hatches plots and drastic actions in her heart, resolved on death now, whipping herself on to heights of anger. Will you not be gone in flight while power is still within your power? While flight is still within your power? Soon will you not see the offing boil with ships and glare with torches? Soon again the waterfront will be alive with fires, if dawn comes while you linger in this country. Ha! Come, break the spell. Woman's a thing forever fitful and forever changing. At this he merged into the darkness. Then, as the abrupt phantom filled him with fear, Aeneas broke from sleep and roused his crewmen. Up! Turn out now! Oarsmen, take your thwarts! Shake out sail! Look here, for a second time, a god from heaven's high air is goading me to hasten our breakaway, to cut the cables. Holy One, whatever god you are, we go with you, we act on your command most happily. Be near, graciously help us, make the stars in heaven propitious ones. He pulled his sword a flash out of its sheath and struck at the stern hawser. All the men were gripped by his excitement to be gone, and hauled and hustled. Ships cast off their moorings, and an array of hulls hid in shore water as oarsmen churned up foam and swept to sea. Soon, early dawn, quitting the saffron bed of old Tithonus, cast new light on earth, and as air grew transparent from her tower, the queen caught sight of ships on the seaward reach with sails full and the wind astern. She knew the waterfront now empty, bare of oarsmen. Beating her lovely breast 3 times, 4 times, and tearing her golden hair. "Oh, Jupiter," she said, "will this man go? Will he have mocked my kingdom, stranger that he was and is? Will they not snatch up arms and follow him from every quarter of the town, and dock hands tear our ships from moorings? On, be quick with torches, give out arms, unship the oars." What am I saying? Where am I? What madness takes me out of myself? Dido, poor soul, your evil doing has come home to you. Then was the right time when you offered him a royal scepter. See the good faith and honor of the one they say bears with him everywhere. The hearth gods of his country, one who bore his father spent with age upon his shoulders. Oh, could I not then have torn him limb from limb and flung the pieces on the sea, his company? Oh, even Ascanius, could I not have minced and served up to his father at a feast? Though the luck of battle might have been in doubt, so let it have been. Whom had I to fear, being sure to die? I could have carried torches into his camp, filled passageways with flame, annihilated father and son and followers, and given my own life. On top of all, oh sun, scanning with flame all works of earth, and thou, oh Juno, witness and go between of my long miseries, and Hecate, screeched for at night at crossroads in the cities, and thou, avenging Furies and all gods, on whom Alyssa dying may call, take notice, overshadow this hell with your high power, as I deserve, and hear my prayer. If by necessity that impious wretch must find his haven and come to safe land, if so Jove's destinies require, and this his end in view must stand, yet all the people, when hard beset in war by a brave people, forced to go outside his boundaries, and torn from Iulus, let him beg assistance, let him see the unmerited deaths of those around him and with him, and accepting peace on unjust terms, let him not even so enjoy his kingdom or the life he longs for, but fall in battle before his time, and lie unburied on the sand. This I implore. This is my last cry as my last blood flows. Then, O Tyrians, besiege with hate his progeny and all his race to come. Make this your offering to my dust. No love, no pact must be between our peoples. No, but rise up from my bones, avenging spirit, hairy with fire and sword, the Dardan countrymen, now or hereafter, or whatever time the strength will be afforded. Coast with coast in conflict I implore, and sea with sea, and arms with arms. May they contend in war, themselves and all the children of their children. Now she took thought of one way or another at the first chance to end her hated life, and briefly spoke to Barke, who had been Sychaeus' nurse, her own an urn of ash long held in her ancient fatherland. Dear nurse, tell Sister Anna to come here and have her quickly bedew herself with running water before she brings our victims for atonement. Let her come that way. And you too put on pure wool about your brows. I have a mind to carry out that rite to Stygian Jove that I have readied here, and put an end to my distress, committing to the flames the pyre of that miserable Dardan. At this, with an old woman's eagerness, Barke hurried away, and Dido's heart beat wildly at the enormous thing afoot. She rolled her bloodshot eyes, her quivering cheeks were flecked with red as her sick pallor grew before her coming death. Into the court she burst her way, then at her passion's height she climbed the pyre, and bared the Dardan sword, a gift desired once, for no such need. Her eyes now on the Trojan clothing there, and the familiar bed, she paused a little, weeping a little, mindful, then lay down, and spoke her last words. Remnants dear to me, when God and fate allowed it, take this breath, and give me respite from these agonies. I lived my life out to the very end, and past the stages fortune had appointed. Now my tall shade goes to the underworld. I built a famous town, saw my great walls, avenged my husband, made my hostile brother pay for his crime. Happy, alas, too happy, if only the Dardanian keels had never beached on our coast. And here she kissed the bed. I die unavenged, she said, but let me die this way, a blessed relief to go into the undergloom. Let the cold Trojan far at sea drink in this conflagration, and take with him the omen of my death. Amid these words, her household people saw her crumpled over the steel blade, and the blade, aflush with red blood, drenched her hands. A scream pierced the high chambers. Now through the shocked city rumor went rioting, as wails and sobs with women's outcry echoed in the palace, and heaven's high air gave back the beating din, as though all Carthage or old Tyre fell to storming enemies, and, out of hand, flames billowed on the roofs of men and gods. Her sister heard, and trembling, faint with terror, lacerating her face, beating her breast, ran through the crowd to call the dying queen. It came to this then, sister? You deceived me? The pyre meant this? The altars and fires meant this? What shall I mourn first, being abandoned? Did you scorn your sister's company in death? You should have called me out to the same fate. The same blade's edge and hurt at the same hour should have taken us off. With my own hands had I to build this pyre, and had to call upon our country's gods, that in the end, with you placed on it there, O heartless one, I should be absent. You have put to death yourself and me, the people and the fathers bred in Sidon, and your own new city. Give me fresh water, let me bathe her wound, and catch upon my lips any last breath hovering over hers. Now she had climbed the topmost steps, and took her dying sister into her arms to cherish, with a sob, using her dress to staunch the dark blood flow. But Dido, trying to lift her heavy eyes, fainted again. Her chest wound whistled air. 3 times she struggled up on one elbow, and each time fell back on the bed. Her gaze went wavering as she looked for heaven's light, and groaning at finding it. Almighty Juno, filled with pity for this long ordeal and difficult passage, now sent Iris down out of Olympus to set free the wrestling spirit from the body's hold. For since she died, not at her fated span, nor as she merited, but before her time, inflamed and driven mad, Proserpina had not yet plucked from her the golden hair, delivering her to Orcus of the Styx. So humid Iris through the bright heaven flew on saffron yellow wings, and in her train 1,000 hues shimmered before the sun. At Dido's head she came to rest. This token, sacred to Dis, I bear away as bidden, and free you from your body. Saying this, she cut a lock of hair. Along with it, her body's warmth fell into dissolution, and out into the winds her life withdrew.